2006, several hundred mourners crowded the Ebenezer African Methodist Episcopal Church in Fort Washington to pay respect to Jackie Mae Lewis, the victim of a murder-suicide in Fort Washington. Among the attendees was Yvette Cade, herself a domestic violence survivor turned activist, who sustained third-degree burns after her estranged husband doused her with gasoline, then set her alight. In a moving tribute, the Reverend Barbara Ridley, one of the pastors of Ebenezer AME Church, denounced domestic violence. And she asked a poignant question: where does the church take this issue of domestic violence? Where does the church take this issue of domestic violence? Coming closer in time, April has been a brutal and horrendous month of violence against Black women by their partners, and in one case by a son. And so we need to have these conversations. Dr. Serena Fairfax, a mother of 2 children and a dentist serving Fairfax County, was shot and killed by her husband, the former Virginia Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax. Pastor Tammy McCullum was shot and killed by her husband, Eddie McCullum. He stated that he fatally shot her during an argument. They had been married for over 30 years. Florida Vice Mayor Nancy Matea Brown was killed by her husband, Stephen Bowen. He has been charged with premeditated murder of domestic violence. Content influencer Ashley Robinson, also known as Ashley Janae, died in Zanzibar under mysterious circumstances. She was visiting there with her new fiance, Joe McCann, an American crypto trader. And during the trip, the couple had moved into separate villas because of domestic violence. Detroit rapper Kalisha Sadidi Barnes was shot and killed in Atlanta in a Range Rover. She was 14 weeks pregnant. It has been reported that she was shot by her boyfriend. Devonta Curtis, a trans woman from Chicago, was beaten to death in her apartment by her boyfriend, DeAndre Bell, and I sure hope he's not related to me. Her on-again, off-again boyfriend. According to reports, Bell allegedly Googled how to kill someone with a hammer, and if a person gets hit in the head with a hammer while sleeping, what happens before murdering her. Barbara Deere, a licensed speech pathologist who worked almost 2 decades with Chicago Public Schools, was shot and killed by her son, who then turned the gun on himself. Ashante Allen from Houston, Texas, expectant mother, was killed by the baby's father. Shamar Elkins, Shreveport, Louisiana, killed 7 of his children and 1 cousin. All of these domestic violence murders took place between the middle of March and April of 2026. We need to speak their names. She told the psychotherapist that she was living in the doghouse because her husband locked her out when he was in a rage. And he told the abuse counselor in group therapy that after the first couple of beatings, he did not have to beat her up anymore. All he had to do was raise his hand. Domestic abuse and battering refer to physical, emotional, sexual, verbal, and psychological abuse performed by one person against another. It also includes patriarchal terrorism, gaslighting, and Stockholm Syndrome. Domestic abuse is the most common form of violence in society, and it is underreported, especially in the African American community. And that is because women do not want to send their partner, another black man, to prison. Abuse is no new phenomenon. It is not a new kind of sin. It's a sin against God, and it is a crime. Abuse has always been a sin. However, in recent years, clergy have begun to study and research scripture to bring to the faith community's attention that abuse is wrong and something has to be done to stop and to eradicate the domestic abuse in our community. Physical abuse. According to DV Handbook, physical abuse manifests itself when a partner makes a conscious, not an accident, makes a conscious decision to violate his or her partner using the following acts: hit, slap, punch, shove, bite, cut, choke, kick, burn, or spit. Also, the batterer will throw objects at or restrain the partner. The batterer will threaten to hurt his or her partner with an object. And I'm going to say his because 92% of the abuse is abuse against women. Okay? Some women are abusive, but 92% of the abuse is abuse against women. They will use an object or deadly weapon, a gun, knife, baseball bat, a brick, a chain, a hammer, scissors, a crowbar. My ex-husband threatened to hit me with a crowbar when I was in the bed and I was asleep, but I woke up. When I woke up, he was standing at the door with a crowbar and he said, "I ought to hit you with it." I turned over and I went back to sleep. And when I woke up, he was gone. And I know that God protected me because my mother had called me earlier and said she had had a disturbing dream about me. And I know she was praying. So God protected me from that. He wanted me to say something. He wanted me to engage so that he would have a reason to hit me. But I followed the Spirit. I faced the wall. And I went back to sleep. They will also use a belt buckle, extension cord, a branch, bottle, acid, bleach, or scalding water. There was a young lady who attended one of my classes, and she said she was in class at Long Beach City College, and she was trying to break up with him. Boyfriend came in and he poured bleach all over her. And it so happened that somebody in the class assisted her, took her to the bathroom, and tried to get all the bleach off of her. And so domestic abuse is nothing to play with, okay? I want to talk about gaslighting. Gaslighting is a psychological manipulation tactic that causes someone to question their reality, their memories, or their thoughts. Did I say that? Did I do that? Because when you question the abuser, he will say, "I didn't do that. I didn't say that. Something must be wrong with you." The goal of gaslighting is to make the victim dependent on the gaslighter for emotional support and for validation. Some of the common tactics are lying, denying wrongdoing, blaming the victim, focusing on one aspect, and setting themselves up as the expert. How many of you saw the movie Gaslight with Ingrid Bergman? It's an old movie. And that's what that's about, gaslighting. Amen. One of the most frequently asked questions about victims of domestic abuse is why so many women choose to stay with an abuser who violently hurts them and their children. If you were a victim, maybe you ask yourself the same question: why did I stay so long? It's not that easy to leave, especially if you're being gaslighted. And the next one is Stockholm Syndrome. It's a psychological and voluntary state in which victims of kidnapping or abuse begin to feel sympathy, emotional bonding, and solidarity for those who are abusing them or keeping them captive in an oppressive situation. The Stockholm Syndrome came from a psychologist in Stockholm, Sweden, when a bank was robbed. And the kidnappers, they kidnapped some of the employees. The employees bonded with the kidnappers. And after the ordeal was over, some of the kidnapped victims testified on behalf of the kidnappers, and one married one of the kidnappers. And that's why it's called the Stockholm Syndrome. You're trying to find a way to bond so you can stay safe. Amen. So this is going to be the end of my presentation right now. Domestic abuse, the presentation could be days because there's so much information. I have a video that I want to show, and it's called First Impressions. And it talks about how children are affected by domestic abuse, even in the womb. Is it ready? Okay. Okay. It's about 14 minutes. Okay. Okay.
Because of the way the brain works, you will always remember your very first roller coaster ride. Storing these new experiences is one of the brain's main jobs. In fact, your brain creates a mental blueprint of every new experience you have. A blueprint for any new touch is stored in one part of the brain. A blueprint for any new sound in a different part. And a blueprint for any new sight in still another part. But as powerful as that first roller coaster ride was, it can't compete with the lingering effects of your brain's earliest experiences. Although you have no conscious memory of this part of your childhood, it is these very first experiences that literally become the building blocks for your whole life.
Unlike other organs, the brain is undeveloped at birth, and it is waiting for experiences to shape how it will develop. The amazing thing about the human brain is that the younger you are, the more sponge-like your brain is, which is the reason that children in 3 years can learn language, can learn to walk, can do all kinds of incredible things. But the very same biological sponginess that allows us to rapidly acquire language is also the same sponginess that makes young children more vulnerable to trauma than older children.
We have the opportunity to do police ride-alongs to a domestic violence situation, and so this was actually the first call I ever rode along. It was dinner time, and they were having spaghetti for dinner. It was dripping down the walls, the kitchen table was overturned, and we had 3 children in the household. Looking at this whole situation at the time, we said, no evidence of physical harm, the kids are fine. We learned differently, of course. The boy in the corner was classic behavior that we see with kids who have had chronic exposure to violence. He would just completely zone out, numb out as things started to get scary. The 6-year-old little girl on the chair blames herself for what's going on, but actually it was 4 years later that we really appreciated who had some of the most profound or severe harm coming out of this situation, and that was the 6-month-old baby who was now 4.5 and had seriously injured another child in preschool.
It's literally the opposite of the way most people think about this. Most people think young children, they don't really understand what's going on and they're resilient, but the fact is, if anybody's impacted more severely, it's the younger child.
The brain is put together like building blocks in a sense. Those first blocks that go together are the more primitive area, the survival brain.
The brain develops from the bottom to the top and from the inside out, so that the normal development of the top part of the brain depends upon healthy development of lower parts of the brain. The top part of the brain, where you do all of your thinking, is the part of the brain that is most changeable, easiest to modify. But unfortunately, if a child has developmental experiences of threat and exposure to domestic violence, the lower parts of the brain will be impacted and they're harder to change as they get older.
He was never physically abusive, but he was verbally abusive. There was lots and lots of screaming in front of the kids, berating, putting me down, and they pretty much heard it all.
Children exposed to domestic violence, children who witness their parents fighting, literally are experiencing a state of fear. And when this happens, the systems in your brain that are involved in thinking at the top part of your brain are literally shut down. It changes the brains of these children.
My son has seen and heard a lot of the violent outbursts. He was experiencing night terrors, and that was probably his way of dealing with it, because in his waking state, he didn't know how to articulate at 2.5 years old. So it was coming through, when he was asleep.
When kids are chronically stressed, one of the problems that we see is difficulty in attachment, in bonding. Because they're so focused on survival, it's hard for them to reach out and connect with others.
My oldest boy went through a stage where he would bully his younger brother and seemingly laugh in glee. He was not remorseful or had no empathy that he could actually make someone cry. Many phone calls of him being disruptive in the classroom. He was a very bright kid, but that's when I knew that he was heading toward trouble.
A lot of these kids get labeled as being, bad, difficult, defiant. This is a very natural response to their circumstance. What the child is doing is a survival strategy for them, but it creates behaviors that are very difficult in the classroom. When they're in a crisis mode, they can't learn.
The tragic reality of children growing up in domestic violence is that they end up with mental health problems at a rate higher than children who are actually the direct victims of physical abuse.
My mother was a victim of domestic violence. My father was an alcoholic, a drug user, and it's just a cocktail for a bad living environment for children. My brother, he looked like he was crying on his way home. Me not knowing, I was just a careless little 6-year-old, seeing him climb up to my mom's medicine cabinet. I asked him what he was doing, and he boldly said, I'm killing myself. 8-year-olds don't talk like that. The first person I got the call was my best friend's mom. By the time she came down to our apartment, he had a butcher knife in his hand. He's just cutting himself all over his body, and I was just bawling, just crying. There was nothing I could do to help. My brother was crying. He didn't want to be there. He was trying to run out. But I had already known that my home, wasn't my home. It wasn't a place where I felt safe.
Childhood exposure to violence is about living in a threatening, scary environment that may escalate to physical violence, but it often doesn't have to. It's the chaos, the uncertainty, the fear of being in a home where things aren't okay. Very interesting talking about the roller coaster because that's what we hear from adult survivors who are in violent households and also the children. The hard part for them, I think, is thinking about what is normal instead of this up and down life of being in a violent, threatening relationship.
Growing up in my home, there were 6 children. My mother and father, unfortunately, fought like cats and dogs. As a result of that, 2 of my brothers ended up being batterers. I have 2 sisters. Even today, they date men that batter them.
Exposure to violence is a lifetime legacy. We see that adults who have had negative childhood experiences often have coping behaviors that can be unhealthy. That certainly has huge effects on how one is going to parent.
It's really important for parents to understand that their internal state, whether it's calm or whether it's alert engagement or whether it's frustration and anger, whether it's sadness, depression, the baby absorbs these internal states.
I have been in the moment with that sense of helplessness and hopelessness and stress and anxiety and rage. It really damages the brains of small children to be under a constant level of stress and anxiety. Every day I hope that I haven't damaged my kid in any way.
They need to see from you as a parent how to deal with stressful situations in an appropriate manner. Being rational, not resorting to violence to deal with situations. Your children are going to learn how to deal with stress from you.
Luckily, my older son is verbal enough and is old enough now that we have conversations about how did it make you feel when that was going on? Was that scary for you? Yeah, and validating that.
The biggest thing that helps children exposed to violence is to be able to talk about their feelings. Get those critical messages. It's not your fault.
Any conflict, I'm able now to stop before I add to it. I'm able to step away rather than trying to solve it at that moment in a state of heightened anger.
Just try not to go through it alone. If you have a strong support system and know what avenues you have available to you, in case you do need to get out. I was glad that we got help when we did.
One of the great things about brain science that we've learned is till the day you die, you have the ability to add new neurons in your brain, that the brain is more like skin in the sense that it can rewire and heal itself in the most important area, the cortex. We have the capacity to heal and do better. The biggest thing we can do for kids exposed to violence is how many healthy adults can they connect to.
I did a lot of my childhood in other people's homes, so I saw what positive relationships were about. I saw my friends were normal. They didn't have the rage I had. Seeing parents that were together, that showed affection. Home dinners where everybody sat together. Those are the things that I realized were important. And instead of being envious, I incorporated it into my life. I wanted to be a part of that.
I know school is what made a difference for me. The teachers, the attention I got, letting me know that I could be somebody and I could do something.
In fact, my oldest son, his teachers, all 6 of them were very instrumental in coming forward and providing him support when he needed. They allowed him to be homeschooled to give him time to heal.
The hardest part about being a parent now is trying to be different than how my parents raised me. Am I being a good father? What do I need to do to help you feel safe in your home?
That's the part, the brain development part, that I think we want him to know what normal is for us. And normal is having people who support you and who love you and who want to take care of you. And that we want that to be his normal life.
It's one of those pay me now or pay me later. And the truth is, children who are good at self-regulation, good at self-soothing, don't cry very much, and end up being, if you will, successful, are children who have had incredibly attentive early caregiving, which some people unfortunately think of as spoiling. It's exactly the opposite. Rather than spoiling the newborn, what you're doing is you are building in healthy self-regulation.
So those are the things that I want to create an environment for my baby where he gets the benefit of what I've learned from all these experts and also other parents. And believe me, they're experts too.
The most important thing that parents need to understand is that the brain of their child will become exactly what the child was exposed to. If you want your child to be kind, then you have to be kind to your child. If you want your child to be good at self-regulation and not lose their temper, you have to not lose your temper. And that's the beauty of the human brain. It is a mirror to the child's developmental experience.
Just so impressed with the information about the children being so young and absorbing all that trauma. It kind of helps us now to maybe understand, not so much agree, but understand why there's so much violence among people now, especially in this climate that we're in now. But we will now take a 10-minute break for you to stretch your legs and restroom privileges if you choose.
We'll have an opportunity for questions and answers when the panel comes back after lunch.
their seats so we can get this lovely show back on the road. Yes, lovely. You the next one, right?
Praise the Lord, saints. We are back with Module 2. I am Derwin Robinson. I'm here to introduce our next speaker, Reverend Marc Scarbrough. Marc Scarbrough was born in Los Angeles, California. He has over 25 years of experience in the ministry and has served in several capacities, including music ministry, worship leader, elder, assistant pastor, and now senior pastor of Zoe Christian Fellowship of Los Angeles. Before pursuing his calling to the ministry, Marc worked in the music industry as a songwriter and music producer, following in the footsteps of his father, the late and legendary Grammy Award-winning songwriter Marc Scarbrough. Marc worked with such names as Earth, Wind & Fire, Nancy Wilson, Howard Hewitt, Rose Royce, Gerald Albright, Jonathan Butler, Will Downing, and many more. He made the decision to leave the industry and offer his gift and talents back to the Lord who gave them. Marc developed a love and passion for Jesus and for the Word, hungering for more of him. He committed himself to studying God's Word even deeper, earning an associate's degree in theology, a bachelor's degree in pastoral studies, a master's degree in Christian counseling. As senior pastor of Zoe Christian Fellowship of Los Angeles, Marc has dedicated his life to serving the Lord, people, his community, and the world through his global ministry. He has been on several medical mission trips to the Philippines as an evangelism leader while sharing his gift of music with the people of the Philippines. Marc has also served as hospice chaplain and grief counselor for over 18 years, helping those with terminal illnesses to transition peacefully and to know Jesus before they slip into eternity. Marc has focused his ministry in teaching believers to live the abundant life that Jesus came to give. He also is part owner of Get Fresh Cafe in Lancaster with his wife, Tanya. When he is not engaged in ministry, Marc loves spending time with his wife, Tanya, spending time with family, and traveling. The next voice you will hear would be Reverend Dr. Marc Scarbrough.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm going to ask your forgiveness this morning. My voice is a little bit challenged, but I'm going to keep pushing through anyway. Amen. My name is Pastor Marc Scarbrough, and I am so pleased to be here this morning. And I am going to talk about hospice basics and benefits. I've had the privilege of being a hospice chaplain for almost 19 years now and have really enjoyed that work. I didn't even know what hospice was when I first got involved, but I knew that it is something that I wanted to be a part of. And so I'm grateful to have learned a lot about hospice in this season. And so I pray that the information that I share with you will be helpful to you at this time. And so the goal for my talk today is to educate others in hospice basics, including the benefits for both the patient and the family. And our objectives here today will be to describe the history, the philosophy, and also the benefits of hospice, to list 2 or more criteria used to identify the hospice eligible patient, and some common diseases seen in end-of-life care. We're also going to identify the difference between curative and palliative care. We're also going to explain some Medicare reimbursement guidelines for hospice, and also discuss the relevance of advanced healthcare directives and DNR if we have time to do so. I want to talk first about how people die, because a lot of times in this culture, we do not like to talk about death, and we don't like to talk about dying, right? I think in these United States, it has been somewhat taboo to talk about death and dying. And that's unfortunate, because death and dying, of course, is a natural part of life. And a lot of times, because we don't like to talk about death, we don't often prepare for death as well. And it's something that we need to prepare for. But statistically speaking, less than 10% die suddenly of an unexpected event, such as heart attack or accident, etc. But more than 90% die of protracted or life-threatening illness, and this includes a predictable yet steady decline with relatively short, what we call terminal phase or terminal illness. Some experience a slow decline characterized by periodic crisis, or what we call an advanced disease. So the difference between dying back then and dying now is that, say, in the 19th century, 3% of America's population was over the age of 65, with life expectancy about 45 to 50 years of age. Most people died at home. Today, nearly 15% of the U.S. population is over 65. Life expectancy in the U.S. by the year 2016 was 78.6 years. So that means that people live a lot longer. And especially as we get more information about health and diet and how to eat right, life expectancy increases at that point. And approximately 36% of Americans die in acute care hospitals, or they die in nursing homes, etc. So let's dispel some myths about hospice, because there's a lot of myths floating around about hospice care. So one of the myths is that hospice is a place, and that myth is false. Hospice is not necessarily a place. There's a commonly held myth about hospice, but hospice care generally takes place in the person's home, whether it be a private residence, whether it be a nursing facility, whether it be assisted living, or what's popular now is what's called a boarding care or a residential care facility for the elderly. Some people have bought regular residential homes, and they have converted those homes into care facilities for the elderly. Those homes are private pay. For a moment, California had experimented with Medi-Cal covering those residential homes, but they did that for a short time before discontinuing that. So those types of things will be private pay. But whether they call home a nursing facility or boarding care, wherever they call home, that's where hospice care can take place. There are some freestanding hospices. I know of one in Bakersfield, Hoffman Hospice, which was one of the hospices that I first worked for, and they actually have freestanding hospice facility, but it's more like what they call a GIP, or a general in-care type of facility, where if the symptoms are out of control, then the person can go there until the symptoms are under control. but most people prefer to die wherever they call home. All right? So let's talk a little bit about some hospice history. Hospice really goes back to as far as 1967 by Dame Cicely Saunders, who opened St. Christopher's in London. All right, and so that is kind of where it started, with her heart to care for those that were ailing. In 1969, things really began to grow. And so a nurse by the name of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, anybody heard of her? Elizabeth Kubler-Ross? Okay. She wrote a book called On Death and Dying, and she brought death and dying more to the mainstream. And if you're familiar with her work, she also constructed what's called the 5 stages of grief, right? And the 5 stages of grief are stages that she kind of investigated and created to express the stages that people go through before they pass away. But what they also discovered is that those stages can apply to people that are dealing with grief after a loved one has passed away as well. And so I don't really teach them in stages, because a stage would imply that once I'm done with stage 1, then I'll never go back there again. I think grief happens more in waves than it happens in stages. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But also in 1974, New Haven Hospice of Connecticut was established. And so that was one of the first or earliest hospice that we can see on record as being established. We also have in 1976, Vitas Hospice began. And then in 1978, the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization was formed, or NHPCO, which is more of the federal regulatory arm of what regulates hospice care. All right? All right, let's dispel another myth. The myth is that you don't need hospice until a few days before a person dies. That is false. And I'll just say this from experience as a hospice chaplain: the faster you get a loved one on hospice care, the better it is for them. Because that hospice team has a better chance and opportunity to get that person comfortable and to keep them comfortable. But if we're kind of rushing to do it at the last minute, the team could get them comfortable, but that person really doesn't have the benefit of all that the team has to offer them during their stay in hospice. And so ideally, patients choose hospice when there is a prognosis of 6 months or less to live if the illness runs its normal course. This allows the patient and family to receive the best care possible, including pain relief, symptom relief, and also assistance with various other services. For instance, you could have a social worker that would help you with do not resuscitate, or they could help you with advanced health care directives, sometime durable power of attorney, and those sorts of things. And there's also this bright pink form called a POST, which is the physician's orders for life-sustaining treatment. And that's something that the hospice team can help with, so that at the end of that person's life, they'll know exactly what that person's wishes are. So if they don't want evasive measures taken at the end of their life, that POST form will outline everything that that patient wants and needs. So let's just say, for instance, for example, somebody does not want a trach, or they don't want to be intubated, or any of those things, then that post form will really outline in that detailed fashion what that person will or won't want at the end of their lives. And so when it comes to hospice, the patient is really at the center of that care, okay? So it doesn't mean that you give up your rights as a hospice patient. You have the right to be a part of your own care. Nobody can come in and say, we're going to do this and that, and you don't have a say in it. All right? So let's talk about hospice eligibility. Who's eligible for hospice? First of all, there has to be a life-limiting illness, or what we call a terminal illness. So people that have a chronic illness are not necessarily eligible for hospice care. They might be eligible for palliative care, but not necessarily hospice care. And even though hospice is palliative in nature, there's a difference between palliative care and hospice care. I kind of look at it like this. Palliative care is kind of like somebody refers you to a bunch of different services. All right, hospice care is what I would call like a all-inclusive resort, okay? You sign up for hospice, everything that you need is included in that care, all right? And so it must be a life-limiting illness. Medicare regulations dictate that there's a prognosis of 6 months or less to live, and 2 physicians to certify a terminal illness with that 6 months life expectancy. Now let me say this, let me go spiritual on you for a moment. Only God knows when we're going to die, all right? So their prognosis is 6 months or less to live, but I've seen people long outlive that. I've seen people graduate from hospice. I've seen them come back to hospice. I've seen them graduate again from hospice. And so only God knows what our final days are going to be. But hospice is very convenient in terms of you don't have to get up and go to the doctor anymore, because the nurses will come to you and you will be under a physician's care. To the degree that you need 2 physicians, one is your primary care doctor or whomever you're seeing. They would have to be the one to give the order for hospice care. And then secondly, you will be followed by that hospice physician and the care that he will give in the terms of the hospice care and what they will do to manage your symptoms. Also, patient and family have to come to an agreement on this care, all right? And there is a plan of care that is created in order for them to focus on your care and the management of those symptoms while you're in hospice care, all right? And so not just the physical, but the psychosocial and the spiritual aspect, because studies have shown that when you minister and serve the whole person, it just makes for a better experience. And I'll just say by experience, as a chaplain, when a person's spiritual needs are met, the medication works better. The other interventions work better when a person's spiritual needs have been met. I've seen people come in just afraid, frankly just afraid, or nervous about what they were going to experience. And as soon as I come in and really deal with what their spiritual issues are, everything else works better after that, okay? And studies have shown that people actually could live longer on hospice. It could actually prolong their life, even though the objective is not to prolong life or to hasten death. Some people actually do better on hospice because they're getting the constant care. All right. All right, let's dispel some more myths. Here's a myth. If a patient chooses hospice, they will lose their physician. That is a myth. That is false. You don't necessarily have to give up the doctor that you love. There's a way that hospice can actually integrate them into your care. So let's just say if you've been dealing with a doctor for, umpteen years and you love this guy, he can be incorporated into your care. But most primary care physicians don't know about hospice care and about managing the symptoms in that way. But your primary care physician can follow your care if you so desire. And it will still be in conjunction with the hospice physician, who will be the one that mostly will prescribe any medications or treatments that will help you in hospice. Okay? So hospice physicians and team members work with the patient's doctor to ensure clinical and emotional needs are being met and that their care is being carried out appropriately. The patient's doctor chooses his or her level of participation in their care. All right? So you are at the center of your care if you choose hospice. All right? Let's talk about palliative care. Palliative care pertains to pain and symptom management. It regards dying as a normal process. And again, it neither hastens or prolongs death. It integrates psychological and spiritual care at the same time. Hospice is a team approach, and the hospice patient is part of that team as well. In fact, they are the center of that care. It enhances quality of life. That is really the aim and the goal of hospice care, to provide comfort care and also to enhance the quality of life, and applicable early in the course of the illness. That is the ideal, is that it can be implemented early in the course of the illness. All right? Here's just some differences between curative versus palliative care. On the curative side, curative care is disease-driven, where palliative is more symptom-driven. So once the doctors have determined there's nothing more that they can do, that curative is not an option, then the focus turns to symptom management, all right? And so hospices are experts in controlling pain and making sure that the symptoms that cause discomfort are under control. In curative care, the doctor is in charge, but in palliative or hospice care, the patient is in charge. You get to say what you do or do not want done. In curative care, the disease process is the primary focus, but in palliative, the disease process is secondary to the person. In curative, there's few choices, but in hospice care and palliative care, there's many choices. In curative care, there's evidence-based treatments, but in palliative, it's comfort and quality of life. That is the focus. All right. I didn't see anybody wave yet. To God be the glory. Amen. I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. All right, let's dispel another myth about hospice. The myth is that hospice helps people with a terminal illness die more quickly. Nothing can be farther from the truth. Hospice care is not to hasten death, again, and it's also not to prolong life. It is to keep a person comfortable until the natural course of their life comes to an end. And so, in reality, it's really kind of just the opposite. And studies have shown that those enrolled in hospice care live an average of 29 days longer than similar patients who did not have the benefit of hospice. Hospice improves the quality of life for those in the advanced stages of a terminal illness. All right. Now let me tell you a quick story. Everybody in hospice care don't want those 29 days, okay? I met a patient, and sweetest lady, just the sweetest lady. And she was a believer, strong believer in Christ, strong faith in Jesus. And she said, Pastor, she called me Pastor, she said, don't pray for me to be healed. She said, I'm tired. I want to go home and be with my Lord. And I said, okay, then we're not going to pray that prayer then. She said, I want you to pray that the Lord will come and take my hand and bring me home. I said, okay. So we prayed that prayer. And I prayed with her. And 7 days later, she went home to be with the Lord. And so everybody don't want the 29 days. Some people are ready. They're tired, and they are ready to go home to their heavenly home. And so I am there as a chaplain to serve them in whatever capacity that they need to be served. Now, me being a Christian myself, I'm always wanting to lead people to Christ, always wanting to share the gospel with them. But there's some people that don't want to hear the gospel. There's some people that are Buddhist, and there's some people that are Hindu, and there's some people that are atheists. And I even had a couple of patients that were Wiccan. They were modern day witches, and they didn't want to hear anything about anything. And I have to respect that. I have to respect whatever people's belief is. And so in times like that, I would just demonstrate the love of Christ to people, because it's really their choice, what they want to do and how they want to operate at the end of their life. All right? So we have to be cognizant, and we have to be respectful of everybody's belief system. How many minutes is that? 2? 2 minutes? Okay. So I'll just go quickly over these. There are types of diagnosis. There's non-oncology diagnosis, and there's oncology diagnosis, or non-cancer and cancer diagnosis. So per Medicare guidelines, the non-oncology are cardiac disease, lung disease, or emphysema, Alzheimer's, stroke, or any kind of acute chronic brain diseases like that, end-stage renal disease, liver disease, ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, AIDS, and also sepsis. And then on the cancer side, breast, bone, renal cell cancer, pancreatic, bladder, glioblastomas, lung, colon, prostate, head and neck, and also hematological as well. And so just one more myth and I'll be done. Hospice discontinues all medications and treatment. That's false. Patients can continue treatments that provide symptoms relief and provide quality of life. For example, a patient with advanced lung disease who is currently on inhaler or inhaler therapy, they can continue that while they're on hospice. And I'll just say that hospice also provides bereavement as well when a loved one has passed away. Thank you all, and God bless you.
We're going to take another 10-minute break. No 10-minute break? 5-minute break. I've been instructed it's a 5-minute break. Okay.
And then how much time will I have after her 15?
Like, I do like 17. Because after you
I don't
guys-
need that much.
Okay,
Yeah.
after you guys' lunch.
15 and 15.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
15 and 15.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm going to use this as my little stick. Will it be distracting? I know. In the middle, in the middle.
everyone. If we can make it back to our seats for the next presenters.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diane Newman, and I'm here to introduce One Legacy, also a sponsor of this seminar. Janelle Servin is a family support specialist for the Family Support Services with One Legacy, the nonprofit organ, eye, and tissue recovery organization serving the 7-county Greater Los Angeles area. One Legacy Family Support Services mission is to comfort the families we serve. Family support services include follow-up donation information, services such as bereavement support, and opportunities to participate in memorial events to honor donors. One Legacy offers support to families regardless of the decision and outcome of donation, as they understand that there is nothing they can do to take away the pain of losing a loved one. However, they do hope to support families in their grief and healing. I also want to welcome their ambassador, one of their ambassadors, Dr. Montiel Brandman, who is a distinguished nurse executive and regional quality leader at Kaiser Permanente, bringing more than 30 years of experience in advancing healthcare excellence. She's widely recognized for her commitment to improving patient outcomes, strengthening health systems, and championing equity in care delivery. Raised in South Los Angeles, Dr. Brandman developed an early and enduring passion for serving vulnerable and marginalized communities. Her work is deeply rooted in addressing the complex challenges surrounding emotional wellness, particularly within underserved and disproportionately impacted populations. A dedicated scholar practitioner, Dr. Brandman earned her PhD in nursing from Azusa Pacific University. Her doctoral research examined the effects of a community-based ethnic sisterhood group on depression in African American women, reflecting her commitment to culturally responsive, community-centered approaches to healing. Her work bridges clinical excellence with innovative holistic strategies designed to reduce health disparities and promote well-being. As I said, she's an ambassador for One Legacy, where she advocates for organ and tissue donation to help save and improve lives. Please welcome One Legacy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here once again. Thank you to Reverend Sandra. One Legacy is part of a national organ donation network made up of 57 federally designated nonprofits. One Legacy is the bridge for life for millions here in Southern California. And ultimately our goal is to, one, educate communities about the importance of organ donation, advocating for registration, as well as facilitating organ, eye, and tissue donations that save thousands of lives every year. Our mission is to save and heal lives through organ, eye, and tissue donation, comfort the families we serve, and inspire our communities to donate life. We have bridges in our logo, and that is because we see ourselves as the bridge between hospitals and transplant centers. We serve one of the largest and most diverse regions in the nation with 2 million residents 10 regional transplant centers, 215 regional hospitals within 7 counties of Southern California, and 70% of that population being non-white. Now, why organ, eye, and tissue donation matters. Every 10 minutes, someone is added to the national wait list, and on average, 22 people die each day while waiting for a transplant. Over 114,000 people are waiting. 19% are within California. And I'll just share a little bit about myself. And my dad passed last year, and he was one of those people waiting. He needed a liver transplant, and unfortunately he was not able to get one, but I think if I were to ask anybody in this room if you know of somebody who needs, maybe it's a kidney or liver, or know of someone who has had a transplant, I think there would be many of us in this room. But the opportunity to donate is rare. Only 1 in 200 are medically eligible candidates for organ donation. And donation, it's very complex. The complexity behind a match, less than 1% of all deaths are eligible for donation. Only 70% of possible donors choose to donate, and 3 of 8 organs from those few possible donors are healthy enough to transplant. That's why registration and education is key. While most Americans support donation in concept, only a fraction are registered or authorized donation after a family member's death. The number is even lower in communities of color. For a single donor, they can save up to 8 lives through organ donation, restore the sight to 2 people through cornea donation, and save and improve the lives of up to 75 people through tissue donation. Just some of the organs and tissues, so you can do your heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, intestines, pancreas, as I mentioned earlier, corneas, tendons, heart valves, veins, skin, and bones. And just recently, they did the first bladder transplant. So in regards to tissue, again, you can save up to 75 lives. More than 1 million people are helped annually through tissue allocation transplants. And of those 2,500,000 deaths that occur in the U.S. annually, only about 5% of referred deaths become tissue donors. Now I'm going to go over some myths and facts. So one of the myths that we often encounter is, if I'm a registered donor, the hospital staff won't save my life. That is not true. The hospital care team does everything they can to heal and save their patients. It's only after they refer a patient to One Legacy that we are even able to confirm a patient's registry status. A patient's registry status is not take into account when you're taken into the hospital. It is after. Another myth, I think I skipped one, is, I don't know, is that there? It is not. But another myth is when your loved one donates, whether it's organs or tissue, that you're not able to have a funeral or an open casket viewing. That is untrue. We do work with not only, so we do have a team that works with funeral home directors to be able to help as much with the family's wishes and making sure that the body is presentable so that families can still honor their loved ones. Another myth is that celebrities and wealthy people receive priority for organ donation, and that is absolutely not a fact. Organ allocation is completed through a third party, which is UNOS, and those lists look at patients' need, how long they've been waiting, and if they are a compatible match. So now I'm going to get into what my main role is through One Legacy, and that is to support families not only during the donation process but after. So during the donation process, we work with families, guiding them through the donation with daily updates. We give pre and post OR notifications, as well as memory-making mementos. So maybe it's fingerprint, or it is a strip of the EKG. Sometimes we're able to record the heartbeat of the loved one, and then we'll put it in a teddy bear for children so that they can hear their loved one's heartbeat. We also provide funeral home resources, grief support, as well as on-site support with honor walks and, again, just daily check-ins. Through the Family Support Services Department, post-donation, we offer a number of services. We do a 2-year mailing program, which includes information and pamphlets in regards to grief. We do have a private Facebook page, English and Spanish. We do host monthly grief support groups and workshops. We also provide medical updates on recipients if it's available, as well as donor-family recipient communications, whether that's letters between donor families and recipients, and then also meetings, as well as personalized outcome letters of what was able to be recovered. We do personalized anniversary cards and our donor family events. For our grief workshops, I was just talking with Dr. Bradman earlier, and I hold these workshops near and dear to my heart because grief can be very isolating sometimes, and this is a space for our families to come and be able to actively mourn, to share and outwardly grieve. A lot of times we talk about, this is a club that we never wanted to be part of, but unfortunately it is a part of life, and we just want to make sure that we have a safe and comfortable space for our families to come and express how they're feeling. Another part that I often hear from families is, I'm afraid that people are going to forget my loved one. And so as One Legacy, we recognize that fear, and we want to honor our donors in everything we do. So we do host various events, one of them being our donor remembrance ceremonies. We invite families out, and we thank families for the gift of donation, whether the donation outcome was they were able to recover or not recovered. We honor each and every family that said yes to donation, because that still counts. We also partner with Comfort Zone Camp. Every year we host 2 camps with Comfort Zone, and it is a camp for children 7 through 17. It's a 3-day camp. We're actually, some of my colleagues are at camp right now with these children. Again, grief can be very isolating, especially for children, not knowing how to talk about it. And these camps just provide a space not only to have fun, like a typical summer camp, but with elements of what they call healing circles, being able to sit down with the children and have them express their grief, whatever that looks like. We also host a One Legacy 5K run walk. We just had that about 2-3 weeks ago. We invite families to come out, and our donor families, something that I love and is again very special to me, is families form teams, and within their teams we personalize their shirt. So on the back of their shirt they have their loved one's picture as well as their name. And a lot of our families use it as a yearly reunion. Again, another way to just keep their loved one's memory alive. And then we have the One Legacy Life Rose Parade Float, which is one of our biggest campaigns every year. It is to not only educate about donation, but again also to honor our donors. So if you can see pictured behind me, there's a picture of the float, and there's what we call a floor graph, so it's a floral portrait of our donors. And the families actually decorate those. It's a beautiful, but they get to see their loved one go down Colorado Boulevard on January 1st, and again, it is just a beautiful way to be able to pay tribute to their loved one. And I'm going to go ahead and end my presentation there, because I really would love to have Dr. Brandman share her story. So I'll go ahead and pass it over.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. So I just want to thank you for the warm welcome. Yes. There we go. I can usually project. I didn't want to scream too loud. So first and foremost, I do want to give honor to God. I'm, in the house of the Lord, so I'm just always grateful. I'm a PK preacher's kid, so I am just blessed to be here. I want to start by saying I actually have history in this area. I lived off of 20th and LaSalle, not far from here, for several years, actually, as a kid growing up in Los Angeles and a few different areas, and went to 24th Elementary there for a short time, not too far from here, actually. So I do have history in the area. My mom's family's from Kansas City, so I always tell people that I'm the country girl raised in the city. Probably one of the only families I felt like that had a farm in Los Angeles, and I would have to tell my mom, okay, we need to move, because this is not appropriate anymore to have cows and chickens and everything running around in the backyard. So thank goodness we made our way out to Riverside, and she could live her country life, or we could live our country life. That said, it's just, like I said, a pleasure to be here. I want to share my story of Pretty in Pink. Before I get too into that, I will share that organ and tissue donation, I never dreamed that I would understand all aspects of it. So as you heard in my bio, I'm a nurse by training. Interestingly enough, I used to be the nurse in the operating room that would hand off any type of, we would call it like an implant or tissue in a surgical procedure. So long before this situation, that was my role. And working in an operating room, I also partnered with teams like One Legacy, where they would come and care for the members that were, making, basically giving their donation to save someone else. And so I've seen it from that perspective. And then also for a time, I was an ICU nurse. So working in the ICU, I saw those critical patients, right, where they or their family members were needing to make some difficult decisions. And I can tell you that as a nurse, we never know who is the organ or tissue donate. We just don't know that information. We wouldn't get it, nor is that something that you're thinking about. At that time, you really are focused on, how do I help and save this person, or how do I help the team, the family, the loved ones that are there. That's what your focus is. like I said, this is my story because it does touch everything. And my experience changed quite a bit when I became, when I was on the other end of this. So being a mom to this beautiful girl back here, I say Alexis Lorraine, she's my pretty in pink story, so I'm honoring her all the time with pink on. Even the pink boots, yes, that's all about her. She is forever 34, even though she's probably saying, no, Mom, I'm actually aging, but forever 34. This girl was all over the place. She went to every school you could think of. Every time I turned around, she was in somebody else's college. She ended up graduating from UC Irvine, and her focus was law. And after a time, she said, Mom, I should go into nursing, like you. And, long story short, there was a day where I came home, and Alexis was not with us. And I'm telling you, as a mom, I don't even have to tell you what that day must have been like. And I just remember thinking of all the things that she wanted to do, that we wanted her to be able to do, and all I could do was grieve what she wasn't going to be able to do. But one thing I learned in this situation is you can honor people and you can heal at the same time. And in our community, sometimes we don't always understand or find ways to grieve the way we need to grieve. We talk about being strong, and there's nothing wrong with being strong, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with sitting on the couch and having a conversation with somebody. Can I get an amen for that? There's nothing wrong with taking medication. Can I get an amen for that? When you are grieving, you need to do what you need to do to heal. And when I lost Alexis and she made her transition, I remember that day getting the call like almost immediately from One Legacy. Now, I, as a driver at 16, put that pink dot on my driver's license. Don't ask me why I was that young and was already thinking, well, if I can't use it, give it to somebody else. That's what I told myself at 16 when I put that pink dot on my driver's license. Being a nurse, I educated my kids the same way. So every last one of my kids put the pink dot on their driver's license. I didn't force them, I promise. It was just a conversation. They made that decision on their own. Alexis, same thing. She had that dot. And because she had the pink dot on her driver's license, I got that call. And when I got that call, I could hear One Legacy basically thinking, okay, I've got to handle this carefully. I've got to make sure I don't offend or upset. And they were very comforting, and they wanted to know if I was going to honor Alexis's decision to be a tissue, donation. And I said, oh my God, I said, let me stop you. You don't have to convince me. You do not have to convince me about organ and tissue donation. I am more than honored for my daughter to be a blessing to someone else. I'll pause and say that in the African American community, I'm going to put on my nurse hat on so you don't see the cowgirl hat, you see the nurse hat. We are disproportionately on waiting lists. We hear people talk about diabetes, sugar, whatever we want to call it, hypertension, high blood, whatever we want to call it. We disproportionately have these diseases running in our communities. Some of it's from diet, true. Some of it is behavioral, maybe. Some of it is genetics. Now, I said I was a preacher's kid, so I'm going to always pray, but I'm going to pray and take some action. And one thing I know is because we're disproportionately on that list, we find out very quickly when we know someone who's getting dialysis. I can't tell you how many times I've heard about somebody needing dialysis and potentially needing a kidney. And we heard before, we're on the list, but we often are the last of any ethnic minority, any ethnic group that will donate. I could say it again, but I know you heard me the first time. We are disproportionately on the list. We are the highest number on the list and the lowest number to donate. I want to dispel those myths, and I want to tell you right now the joy that I get when I think about this little cutie back here. and what she did. So she said the number was 75, but let me tell you about this overachiever right here. She had 240 tissue samples. 240. 236 were used, and that was probably a year ago when I last found out. My guess is all 240 are probably used at this point. So I always said she was my overachiever. She had to overachieve all the time. That she's just still doing that same old thing. Traveling to every state, going to school somewhere. Her tissue went all across the U.S. and internationally. And so I tell myself, that girl is still running around. She's just running all around town like she always has been. She was very athletic, dance and all these different things, a runner. And I got a letter from a lady, a nurse of all people. A nurse got her tendon. And she was telling me how she had injured herself in service. She was serving, doing community service, fell, injured herself, and could no longer walk. Got Alexis's tendon. She didn't know what she was getting. She didn't understand, but I knew. She got her tendon, and she says, not only am I on the recovery and walking, she says, I think I'll be able to run soon. I'm like, oh, I already know. You telling the wrong one right now. I already know what you're gonna be able to do because I know what you have. And you can see, as a mom, yes, I'm always gonna grieve that my daughter is not here, but I honor her. I honor her all over, internationally and within the U.S., for her gift that she gave. It wasn't about, me as a mom making a decision for her. She made that decision, and I honored her decision. And I tell you now, whether it's pretty in pink or blue or whatever the situation is, what I will tell you is there's going to be possibly a time in your life where you have to make a decision, or you might have to make a decision on behalf of someone else. Someone from one legacy or another organ procurement agency or organization might have to reach out to you or someone you know, asking them, are they going to honor their loved one's decision to be an organ or tissue donator? What I will tell you is the decision isn't about you. The decision is sometimes about them. If they decided they wanted to be a blessing to someone else, then to me it's our job to honor that. I did that for her, would do it absolutely again, and I encourage us to do the same. There's nothing crazy that's going to happen because your loved one or someone that you know, or yourself for that matter, decide that you're going to make a donation. What I'll tell you is it has been the biggest blessing in disguise that I never saw. I had no idea I was going to get pulled in to this work this way. I'm forever wearing pink. I'm forever talking about Pretty in Pink. I'm forever talking about Alexis. And I'm forever talking about how we as communities can change and be a blessing for others. So by the grace of God, I get to sit here, I'll say stand here, but I get to sit here, not only honor her, but help you understand those myths about, they're going to intentionally take you off. No, one physician's not making that decision. That's not how we do things. I want you to know that you have the ability to be a blessing, and I just want to thank you for hearing me, listening to me, respecting Pretty in Pink, and know that if you're ever in that situation, think of Alexis, think of her mom, Dr. B, as they call me, and know that there's a decision to make, and you can be a blessing to others. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm back. So in your bag that you got when you registered, there is a little survey paper that we would like you all to fill out, because us in the bereavement ministry. Hello? No, it's not you. guys to fill this, thank you, fill this out, because we really do take your feedback seriously. And we want, next year when we have another seminar, we want to take your input and give you guys what you're asking for. So if you could please fill it out and return it back to the table that you registered. Now it is time for lunch. You have 40 minutes. About 5 minutes before that, I will come and gather you all back in so we can get back to it. So have a nice lunch, fellowship. If you want to visit some of the tables outside to get some information, they're open and sure willing to give you whatever information you're looking for.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, forgot to tell you where to go. That might help. If you go out this door, across the breezeway through our education building, you will see someone will be there to direct you to where to get your lunch and where to sit and eat it. Okay. Did I forget anything else? No? Okay.
So we're going to go out of the table, right? Yes. We'll go sit at the table? Okay, that'll work. This will be, because I can always bring it back.
just to see you, to behold you as my King, for your glory. I will do anything just to see you, to behold you as my King, for your glory.
Hello. Okay, everyone, we're back. I hope everyone enjoyed their lunch and their fellowship. So we're going to
Just a quick housekeeping thing. When we talked earlier, when I got up and we talked about housekeeping, we talked about being careful in our sanctuary. So if you were not able to finish your lunch, and I understand that 40 minutes can go pretty quickly, if you would be so kind as to remember that we're in the sanctuary and that you would not eat or drink in this space, we would be really grateful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we're going to bring up Mrs. Teresa Banks to introduce our next presenter.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our next and final presenter is Reverend Walter Kent Davis, who was born in Marshall, Texas, and raised in Los Angeles, California. He attended East Texas Bible College in Marshall, Texas, and Life Bible College in Los Angeles, California. While at Life College, God gave him the vision to pastor a church and to start a ministry named Rejected Stone Christian Fellowship based on Luke 20:17. In 2003, Reverend Walter Kent Davis founded the church and had a recovery focus on the ministry of active youth ministry. Reverend Davis is an entrepreneur who has owned 3 mortuaries over his 40 years in the funeral service industry. He currently owns All Faith Funeral Home in Los Angeles, California, where he also offers pre-need assistance. Reverend Davis has hosted entrepreneurial workshops for community youth, and each year he presents an award to a community leader who has addressed homelessness in Los Angeles. Please welcome Reverend Walter Kent Davis.
All right. Can you guys hear me? First, I want to thank Ward AME, Reverend Sandra, and all the folks inviting me out. It's a joy and a pleasure to be here. Today, just for a few moments, we're going to talk about the state of the union of pre-planning funerals. And I'm honored today to have my partner and my new employee, but she's my partner. It's my wife, Jeannie Davis. She's going to open up with the open address.
Boy, I'm his new employee. I'm his new employee because I retired.
Yeah.
I'm a licensed clinical social worker. By the way, it's hard to follow lunch. So if you need to stand up and stretch, I understand, because it was a great lunch and we appreciate it immensely for AME. But I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and last year I retired as an administrator from LA Unified School District in their social work department. And while my husband, as he shared, is going to discuss the state of funeral planning in today's economy, I want to take a look at the benefits of pre-planning a funeral. And let me start by saying that losing a loved one brings a wide array of intense emotions. And those emotions can make it really difficult for you to get involved in the details of planning a funeral. Because when you're planning a funeral, you're trying to honor a loved one and create an atmosphere where your friends and family can come together, acknowledge, respect, and cherish a life. That's a big responsibility to take on when you're not feeling as yourself. But if you prepare for the funeral in advance, you put yourself in a better position to give your loved one the send-off that you want, or that they want, I should say. Or if they weren't able to participate or they could not participate in determining what they wanted, at least you could feel more positive about the choices that you made. Because, as I said earlier, it's a stressful time, and there's a lot of choices, and they're very difficult. Many of the decisions you make when you plan a future are challenging because hopefully none of you are involved in making arrangements on a regular basis. So you may be unfamiliar with what you need to do, or maybe you've forgotten. It's been a long time since you prepared a funeral. And in some cases, the loved one that you are preparing a funeral may have some unique needs that you've never dealt with before. All this makes funeral planning more difficult, especially in the middle of the crisis. But if somehow you could feel satisfied with the results of your arrangements, you give yourself and others an opportunity to gain some closure on the loss of your loved one. And closure, it's a really important step in healing. Not that closure means you're automatically going to feel okay about everything, or you can't say, oh, I've closed that chapter and I'm moving on. That's not what I mean by closure in this case. I'm referring to just being in a better position to move forward through the healing process. And I want to say Pastor Marc shared with us, you know, that there are these stages, and you don't necessarily move through these stages in a correct order, but if you can be in a better place to start them by having honored your loved one in a way that you feel good about, then that helps the healing process. Some of the things that you have to consider when you're planning a funeral, you know, you have to know, do my loved one want to be buried? Did they want cremation? Did they want an open casket, a closed casket? Do they want a song, many songs? Is it festive? Is it a celebration? I mean, the choices go on and on and on. And most people don't ask those kind of questions in a normal, everyday conversation. You know, I wouldn't lean over and say, hey, you know, hi, nice to meet you. Are you going to be in an open casket? You know, these are not conversations even, and they shared earlier that it's really difficult to talk about death. So we don't know these things. But pre-planning will give you more confidence about how to find out what your loved one's wishes are, what tasks are going to be involved in planning this funeral, and hopefully who is going to be responsible for some of these duties, because there's a lot. Additionally, pre-planning can make you feel more in control in a very out-of-control situation. The more you know, the more confident you can feel about the plans that you made, and the less anxious you're going to be about some of the potential challenges and pitfalls that come about when planning a funeral. So I highly recommend pre-planning so that you can make better choices and feel more confident about those choices. I'm going to turn it over to my husband, Walter Davis.
All right. Thank you, babe. Is it Dr. Arnetha? I want to pronounce that correctly. All the presenters were excellent. Yes. And I was pulled into, you know, the talk about abuse, which goes untalked about and which happens, and the tape that you, the video that we saw was so powerful, where it talks about what a kid is exposed to, and that's what he's going to become. And so, as I was thinking about that, you know, I know I'm not talking to anyone in this room in this manner. But I want to let you know, GoFundMe was never meant to be a funeral plan. And yeah, I want you to, you know, not you, but let your cousin and your cousin's daughters and all them little ones that come to your house, bring it up around dinner table. GoFundMe is not a funeral plan. Right now, people think GoFundMe is a funeral plan.
Yes.
That's what, when something happens, we're going to create a GoFundMe.
Yes.
They abused that program. That's abuse. It wasn't meant for that. It was meant for some tragic thing. It wasn't meant for somebody that just didn't take care of business. You know, and now we need to bury him and have a horse and buggy and you know, and all. I mean, I you know, a little bit about me. You know, I started working in a funeral home when I was 23 years old. I started working at to me it was a historical funeral home in the city. It was on 60th and Compton Avenue. It was Albert L. Cooper and J.S. Williams Funeral Home. Hobbs, J.S. Williams. There used to be a guy who used to have these bench advertisements, but they had the purple limousines. They used to call them the Orchid of the West. Some people have been around, they know. So I worked there. That was my first funeral home. I got all of my training there. I got mentored by a lot of older people that was there. I was 23. Most people I was working there were like 60. And so they really mentored me. And you know, then from there, I worked at Rose Hills, the largest cemetery, single cemetery in one location in the world, 2,600 acres. I worked there for 10 years. From then I went back to Bible College and I worked at Forest Lawn. I worked at Forest Lawn for 3 years. And then after that, after me working in a funeral home, I got together with a group, a couple guys, and we were able to buy the Old People's Funeral Home on 42nd and Central. It used to be, that's where they buried Sam Cooke at, and a lot of history. But after the riots, it was abandoned. And so I put together a partnership, and then we opened up Agape Funeral Home. And I was there for about 10 years, and I sold it because our partnership broke up. Then I opened All Faith Funeral Home. So I say that to say I want to let you know I know a little bit about what I'm talking about today. I'm not, I'm going to give some cards out to you guys, before I leave. I want you to take them because I want you, if not for you, somebody call me, because see, when you're pre-planning, you don't need just talk to a salesperson. You need to talk to somebody that works in a funeral home. You need to talk to a funeral director because you need to know the facts. You don't need to talk to somebody that just is, and like I said, I've been doing this 41 years. You don't want to talk to somebody that's just gauging on what commission they get. Because some people are going to tell you, well, because they know if they sell you this, they're going to get 17% or something like that. And then they might have you leaving thinking that everything's taken care of, and then you go home and you tell your grandchildren, oh, well, whoever, I took care of everything. And then when it comes to need, and and the person passed, and they walk in there to Inglewood Park or one of these places, well, my mom took care of everything. They said, no, they took care of that, but they didn't take care of everything. And then there's a dollar amount that they got to come up, but then they're scrambling or find some other resources. And then first I want to start with this. Buying cemetery property today in California is like buying a house. Now, some of you people, I know I'm here at Ward. I've been to Ward many times, back in the years. I remember when, I think it was Mr. Pastor Cloyd or Gloyd. I used to come here back then when he was a pastor, and I was a funeral director. So I know a lot of people that are in the church, we have more of a preparation frame of mind. But but right now we in the Bible and all the ministers say we talk about apostasy. We talk about a falling away. Well, when you see a falling away from the church, you also see a falling away from being prepared. Because when I grew up in the church, everybody talked about being prepared. It was like being exposed. I remember my aunt came out here from Marshall, Texas. My aunt was a seamstress. She only went to the 8th grade, and because back then they wasn't a school and wasn't training for them, but she was a seamstress. And I remember when I had the privilege and the honor to bury her, I went to her house, and she had a little box, a little steel box, and she had her canceled checks of every payment she made from Rose Hill. She had them all in order, that she had paid it off. She kept them, and she had her insurance policy in the back. So the only thing I had to do was grab this box here and look at it, call Rose Hills, had her insurance policy, and she was prepared. And she always talked preparation. And she got that from being around people, believers. And so when you see this, people not coming to church, that means that there's more people not prepared. Trust me, I know. Because my funeral home is right on Central Avenue, Pier Central, right in Watts over there. And I get the people call me after they walk in Inglewood Park. See, I get the ones that they go to Inglewood Park. Well, we're gonna take cousin them to Inglewood Park. They find out that they don't have any insurance. Now they need to talk to somebody that they can talk about how we're gonna negotiate this thing. And Inglewood Park, Rose Hills, Forest Lawn, they do no negotiation. That's not even that if you're not prepared. So in the 90s, you could buy a cemetery plot between $2,000 and $4,000. You can buy a cemetery plot. Right now, the price is between $5,000 and probably $18,000. And so back in the day, if you had a $10,000 insurance policy, you was always pretty safe. I remember, all the people that we buried had a $10,000 insurance policy. We could pay for everything out of $10,000. That is, if you don't own, if you ain't bought your house, if you ain't bought a cemetery property already, that $10,000 is not going to do it. And so right now, if you know somebody that's all they have is $10,000, they don't have a cemetery. My sisters call me and they want to go over their plans. And says, well, we need to buy your grave now. Because, cemetery property is just like your house. I don't care who's in administration. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's the next president. They go up in January. There's no limits. Inglewood Park, this coming January, Inglewood Park is going to go up on their prices. That's what they do. Because, you see also now, 70% of America is being cremated. And that is huge for African Americans. I've been doing this long enough. We never went to the crematory. Everybody was going to the graveyard. But now when I come in, everybody is being cremated. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And it's a couple reasons. Number one, they didn't they didn't prepare. And then number two, people are less traditional. They fall away from that. No, I don't want to do all that. They want to have funerals almost at nightclubs now. I go to more memorial. Well, can you cremate the body and we're gonna rent out the Palladium or something over here, and we're gonna put a picture in. That's what they're doing now. That's the climate that we're in. That's the climate. And see, I know today I'm not talking to a lot of you because a lot of you guys are thinking about it, but. You need, like Dr. Arnetha said, when you said that, take what you're exposed to, you have to tell your the people in your family. I was blessed to do the service for Miss Dangerfield here about a few months ago. I saw Lori here, and Miss Lombard, the Dangerfield family. I was the funeral director for that service. And what it did, it was a great tribute. She was of course, she's a beautiful woman, of God, a leader in our community. It was big, it was huge. But what it did, it inspired people to think about what they prepared. And so they family called. They said, we calling everybody up right now. We're gonna get them all lined up. We're gonna call Joe, Jim, and all that, because if they're not prepared and they connected to you, who they calling is you. Now, I want to. Does anybody out there ever got those calls? Or am I talking to a group that don't know about it? Because now they come into the church when there's a need, and that's where they come. They come to get the help. So this is, cremation is becoming more of the norm. It's more the norm. And it's not a bad thing if you're okay with it. I think that we have moved past, God can do anything. If God can bring you back from the sea, God could bring you back from, he created us from dirt, so he can bring you back from ashes. So I think we done moved past that. It's your choice. But I want you to, just to know that if you plan on being buried, if you play, and I say not you, because I know some of you got who out there now own cemetery property. Okay, you own a cemetery lot, a plot. Okay, I mean, have you checked on what your investment is? If you find out how much it's worth now, I was at a funeral directors meeting, and this funeral director, I'm gonna say his name, Mr. Tillman in Riverside. He's one of the oldest in Riverside. And Mr. Tillman said, he said, I found out how much my grave was. He said, I just drive out there, now, and I just look at it. You know, I want to make sure it's all right because the value has increased. I remember at Rose Hills where they used to sell property in undeveloped land back in the early 80s. You could buy it before it was developed, and they'll sell it to you for $250 each or something. Like get a special, get 5 graves, and everybody, just like our community, we don't want to talk about death, but see, I know for a fact those Asian churches and Korean churches, they will come out there and they say, well, give me the whole lot, Wow. But now they turn around and those values have increased. And so, if you're thinking about having a traditional burial and you don't own your you don't own your plot, look at your insurance portfolios. Find out, if you have enough insurance, if you need to increase them. I tell you, go out and talk to them now. Go out and after you talk to them, don't just talk to them. Always talk to a funeral director. A funeral director will talk to you. You don't have to be at need. You don't have to be need. Call the funeral director and say, look, I just want to come in. Can I have a meeting with you? And you go in there and you just ask them questions. What would I need? Because you don't want to just talk to somebody that's just clearly a salesperson. A salesperson is going to sell you what's major to their incentive. This is a capitalistic society. But you talk to the funeral director. The funeral director, is more apt to because he has a license to give you the facts. To give you the facts. So, cremation is rising. That's what's happening now. I bought some suggestive outlines for you. For you to pick up if you want, just to look at, so you'll be familiar with it. Like a lot of things now is cremation with a service, because even though we're being cremated, we still want to do the traditional thing that we do. We still want to bring our loved ones to the church. We still may want to have a viewing. We still want to do it. We just don't, we're just going to be cremated. So you want to see what that looks like. You can see what that looks like in advance, and then you can put that in a plan. And I'm gonna tell you, $5,000 will do it, and $10,000 you may be able to do your after fellowship and all that. If you're not a member of a church, because I'm not talking about you, but the other people, they're not members of church, and then they want to do things that we don't want them to do in the church too. I don't want, do you know how many people we got to ask to leave the church now that come in with cups, not with water in it, at a funeral? This stuff is becoming the norm, that people think, well, I'm gonna get turned up. Wait till after the funeral to get turned up. But they got these rituals, and unfortunately, we have a rise in younger people passing. Last week my whole list was it was under 47. About 5 people I could name them, because the fentanyl or other challenges and all that. So when they come, and then some churches, I can't blame, some churches says, well, no, we can't help them. But they want to come on grandmama's name now. Now they gonna use your name to get here. Your Grandma Brown been here, my grandma been here 50 years and all that. They say, yeah, your grandmother been here 50 years. We have all them shenanigans in there, because they used to let them get in. I know some churches that they had to meet with the board and come up with new restrictions about people using the church, even family members, because these shenanigans, have been taken off. So that's basically it for me. You can ask me any questions you want about pre-plan. Okay.
She's in the front row.
I got it. I was looking.
How would you go? Thank you. So when you are purchasing for children, not even, it could be high school children age or adult children, and you're not sure where in the country they're going to be or what have you, and you purchase a plot, or like I purchased a drawer, so my husband is in a drawer also.
Right.
So how do you, if you purchase it, then do you just sell it if they end up being, or can you transfer? Like, how does that work?
You could leave it to them, and as in the will, like you can say, if after you leave, say, well, I'm leaving your grave, then they can have the option. They could sell it, or they can use it, or you can sell. You can sell it before that. But I'm saying if you bought them a plot and you passed on, you could put that in your will. Well, I'll leave one plot to, my son Lenny, or even though they're in New York City, they have that plot. They can come in and, they can come and sell, or you can sell them before. I'll elaborate. I'm in trouble already.
We're in trouble.
No. Yeah.
Okay, so now is our Q&A section. So if I can have all of the panelists come back up, so then we can open it up to questions.
Okay.
And please don't have multiple questions in one question. If you have at least, if you can help it, please don't. We're trying to get as many questions and answers as possible without extending too much time. So Brother Ernest is going to be in charge of this Q&A. So please come up to the center, or they'll bring a mic to you so you can ask your question.
Marcia, you ask the question now.
Oh, we're going to bring the mic here.
Okay.
Oh, you want me to get it? Thank you so much. It's me again. I just have one more question, I think.
Okay.
For insurance, I know that, it takes a while for insurance to kick in. You got to get a death certificate, all the things. So what do you suggest for people in the interim if they're not prepared?
At the time of need, when
At the time of need, if they have not done a pre-need, or they have not already paid for their plot or their drawer or whatever have you, what can they do in the interim? Is there a way to prepare for that?
Well, is a person still living, or if the person's still living, it's never too late to do to do preparation for us getting some type of pre-need insurance if they're still with us.
So if you have an insurance policy, let's say it's $10,000,
Yes.
somebody unexpectedly passes away, and you go to the wherever it is, either the funeral home or the
Right.
cemetery or what have you, there is a point, there's a gap in time between that point and when that insurance is going to be paid out.
Well-
So just wondering, is there something available?
Well, most, and all mortuaries, not most, all mortuaries have what they call funding companies. They have funding companies, and they'll send the insurance through that they will fund before the insurance pays.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
I just want to thank all of you for taking the time, not just to come, but to share, because I feel the passion in your heart for what you're doing. My question, however, is for Mom, Dr. D. I'd like for you to share the support groups and places you know that families can go now, because over lunch, we were talking about the fact that some people actually believe they're shenanigans if they sign in advance, and that somehow their life might be shortened because of the possibility of their organs being donated.
Okay, so you say support group, first and foremost, is what I heard. So my dissertation and work, I actually created a sisterhood because I felt like as African American women, I heard my whole life, right, that I always needed to be strong, and that's all true. And when I lost my daughter, I still had my strength, but I also had grief. And I knew I needed to work through that. And so people like myself, there's all kind of sisterhoods, whether they are spiritual in nature or otherwise. There are so many more resources out there now for support, and you'd be surprised if all you do is go to AI, believe it or not, and ask AI nowadays, can you tell me about some groups or some options? It will give you many. What I'll say to your other part of really kind of your comment, people that believe something abnormal or wild is going to happen. I can tell you that many years ago, because I've been a nurse now for over 30 years, there was a time before One Legacy's has since changed, not changed, but it's different now. I remember being a nurse at the bedside, and physicians would come and have a conversation with family members about organ and tissue donation, and depending on how that conversation went, if the loved one wasn't ready to hear it, you're going to hear no. And as a nurse, I would be so grieved inside knowing that, man, this opportunity to save somebody else's life now might be gone. And so as a nurse, I've had many opportunities to talk to families, to help them try to understand the process. There's no one doctor that's going to start pulling plugs. There's no nurse that has some ulterior motive. That's not how we work. It's just not how we work. When it comes to being inside of a hospital, this is something important for everyone to know. When you're in a hospital, especially in an ICU, there's not generally one doctor who's making your decisions. When you're in ICU, there's usually like a nephrologist, a kidney doctor, right, that may be looking at that organ. You may have cardiologists looking at your heart. You might have a pulmonologist looking at your respiratory system. There's generally a whole group of people looking at your care. You would need the whole hospital in cahoots, and I've never seen it, and I know that I never will, because that's just not the way we work. We're there to serve. We're there to help heal. That's just, to the earlier point, we don't even know what your status is. We have no clue. When a person's in the bed, I don't know who's an organ donor and who's not. The physicians don't know that. So when you hear these stories that people, they just want it, I have never in my 33 plus years known anyone's status at any time about them being an organ donor, until it is that time where the physician and the families are making a decision. That's when it comes out. The loved ones will say, that this person was an organ or wants to be an organ donor. That's the only time it comes out. And if I'm wrong, you tell me, but I've never. Trust me. We want to save you. If we can't save you, then there is an opportunity for this person to save many others. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Pamela, and I have a question for you, Dr. Davis. I have, my family has a cemetery in Alabama, and my family is buried there, and so I want to be buried there. how does that happen with me living in Los Angeles?
Well, I mean, it's pretty easy. What you do, you would go to the funeral director and tell them that I want to have a prearranged funeral, but I want put in there that I'm going to be shipped to Alabama.
Okay, because I want to have the service here.
Right.
But yes.
Yeah,
okay.
they'll do step by step, have a service here, and we do it all the time, and then they'll know to set up in Alabama to send you there. You can do that in a pre-need.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I
Okay.
was thinking it was going to be very, very difficult. Thank you.
And they would also contact whatever. What's the town in Alabama? Is it
Tuscumbia.
Tuscumbia? Okay, so they would contact, because I know it's probably not a whole lot of mortuaries in Tuscumbia.
Well, as it turns out, my cousin is the funeral director.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is an immediate connection.
Okay.
I just have to call them,
Right.
or somebody has to call them.
Right.
And let them know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would coordinate with them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, I have two questions. One, first of all, for domestic violence. One is regarding domestic violence. What advice can you give me if there's a loved one that is involved with domestic violence?
I would say, most of all, listen to her story. Believe her story. Don't try to intervene yourself. Find professionals to do that, and you can speak with me after, and I'll be willing to help.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, for the funeral director, I just recently lost my brother-in-law. I'm sorry. I recently lost my brother-in-law, and he's a veteran.
Okay.
So he hasn't been buried yet.
Okay.
And is there there's a problem with signing off on the burial permit.
Okay.
Is there any information that could assist us to get him buried?
Okay. Well, we got to find out what that burial is. Because if he's a veteran, he wants to go to the veteran
To the Riverside.
Riverside.
Cemetery.
Do you know if they approved him yet, or did they say he can go there?
My nephew is the orchestrator, so
Okay.
I have all the information. But the information that went out that he can't, the VA will not sign off on the burial permit to release him to go to the cemetery.
Okay. I'm gonna give you my card. They can call me, because there's some issue that they're bringing up. The reason why they're holding up the process, and they should be forthright and let your nephew and them know that, because they go by how was he discharged, what happened, in his past and all that. So if they're holding that up, it's some issue that they're saying that they should let the family know.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Hi, and thank you all so much for being here today. Have learned so much. Janelle, right? Janelle, a few questions regarding One Legacy, because this is the first time I've ever heard of your organization. And so I wanted to know, I am a donor. You stated earlier that you have to be medically eligible to register, right? So do we register with One Legacy, or does the DMV notify you, One Legacy, once we're at the hospital? That was kind of confusing to me. I just wanted to make sure I'm registered with the right entity.
Okay, now it's on. Okay, so being on the registry and being medically eligible are two different things. Okay. So you would register. So whether it's on your license or you go on the Donate Life California website and you register. After doctors and your family has made the decision that organ donation is something that they want to proceed with, then we get involved and we're able to look up if you're on the registry. And then at that point is when doctors start to run all these tests to see if you're eligible, medically eligible.
Okay.
So they take that into account at time of death and not during your registration.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And you mentioned that your family decides. So me being a donor already with DMV, that doesn't negate what my family does, because some of my family are not for being donors. I know that I am.
Mm-hmm.
So could they change that upon my death?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to? Yeah.
Just really quickly, I'll say that anyone who's registered to be an organ tissue for organ and tissue donation, once you've gotten that pink dot or you go on scan and you're on the registry, in the event or when you pass away and it becomes known that you're on the registry, they will contact your next of kin.
Okay.
So now at this point, like when my daughter passed, had I been adamant that no, my daughter's not, this is not what she would have wanted, it now becomes a dispute. And that's the challenge, that's why it's so important for you to make sure that you let your loved ones know. Do not interfere with that process. And it is important for us to know that if someone's asking that question of us, that we don't interfere with our loved one's process, because that's my choice to put that pink dot on my license. If I want to give my organ and tissue away, that's my right to do so, and I wouldn't want my kids changing that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? From
Exactly.
me. Once but it is a legal process. When you've decided that that's what you want to do, your family technically can't undo it, but there have been times where one legacy has decided not to move forward with the process because it was too either contentious or it was going to be a like a legal battle and a fight. And
So is there anything in advance as far as an addendum that we can add to our trust or will that adamantly states that we definitely want to be a donor and no one can dispute that? Okay.
I would highly recommend putting it on your advance directive, putting something on writing saying, this is what I would like.
Okay.
And as she mentioned, sometimes there are issues with, what your loved one wanted and what you want. And at that time is when we write grief in that moment. It's a lot of big decisions, a lot of things. So we try not to get into anything contentious. We want to honor not only the person who's passing, but the family, because it is a very difficult time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My question is for Reverend Davis, and it's similar to the question that I was asked a few minutes ago. My family is from Boston.
Okay.
So that's where I want to be. But I'm not sure about that because my maternal grandmother bought the plots back whenever. I don't know how much it is or was. She bought 5, but they're stacks. It's like 10. 5 of them are already taken. So how do I let someone know that that's where I want to be buried? I don't want a service here. I just want to be taken over there and buried there. So I don't know if the plots, if the money, is it more? Would it cost me more? Do I have to add more to the plots or?
Well, no. I mean, the plots are in Boston, right?
Right.
So first thing you want to, just call Boston. Call the cemetery in Boston. Find out, make sure what you have, and ask them. Tell them the same story that, look, I'm living in Los Angeles, but on my demise, I'm going to be, shipped back there.
Right.
You get from them what that cost is going to be. Your grandmother already owns the grave, but there's going to be some other costs. You want to know that, and then after that, then you set up your funeral plan, and then you write it down just like a will. Like, on my passing, I want to be shipped to Boston, Massachusetts, and all that. But call them and you want to find out to know you have enough, because you're on that end. So whoever's going to handle it here, they're probably going to pay from here there. So you want to make sure you have the money for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, this is a question for the majority of what you said, the domestic violence is for men going against women, but it's a very few percentage, which I feel in, women's against men. Mm-hmm. Being a vet now, they want to put you in a box. Their network, being a Marine vet, they want to put you in a little box. You're too weak. You need some drugs. They won't give you the network that we call civilian network, outsider, because that's the way the service work with each other. Mm-hmm. It's in a network that even though I have workers, it's in a network outside the vet. Somebody my color, somebody that can relate to me, that I can get a listing of that way.
Yes, however, the headquarters is in New York, but I can get you the information.
Yes.
And I do have some flyers on the table outside. And you can talk to me after.
Okay.
I can give you the information.
Thank you.
There is a network to help.
Because it's very, very little. It's a box.
Yeah.
It's a box thing.
And it's called out of the man box.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you all for being here. I've learned so much. I really appreciate you taking your time to share with us. It's been very beneficial. Pastor Davis, I wanted to know, you said to talk to a funeral director about, pre-needs or whatever you want.
Right.
But what is the difference between speaking to you about cremation services and as opposed to going to Neptune Society, Tulip Cremations, or California Cremation?
Well, even though Neptune Society and the cremation, every one of them all have to be a licensed funeral director. So they are licensed funeral directors. Even though they say it's a cremation service, they're, someone in that office has to be a licensed funeral director from the state of California, and they should have the information of a funeral director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's basically the same then.
It's basically the same thing. I mean, Neptune Society's been around a long time, but you have to have funeral director training to run it. You have to have funeral director to license. So they should be able to ask, your questions. But if if you're uncertain, then call a funeral home. Call a funeral home that's been around for a long time, or been around that has a funeral director. Can even what the story they said, you got to get one lawyer to check another lawyer. When you're talking to some of these cremation services now, you want to hear what they say, but then talk to organizations that's been around a long time.
Right. See what they all have to offer. And,
right.
Yeah. Compare prices.
Right.
Thank you so much. And Pastor Scarbrough, I want to know if there's a website or something I can go to, because our minister over bereavement at our church wanted me to bring back some information. about bereavement, hospice care?
So you can go to the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization and get some lists of hospices from there. But if it comes to like choosing a hospice, I would start with your local hospices, because you don't want a hospice to be out of range. You need a hospice that could come in and be there within 15 minutes or so. And so I would start maybe with just Googling a list of local hospices, and then check their rating as well. Check like their Better Business Bureau rating. Check Yelp to make sure that you read the reviews on them, because all hospices, even though they're regulated the same, they're not all created alike. And so you want to make sure you get a hospice that is compassionate, that will treat your loved one with the care and dignity that they deserve. So start there first.
Thank you so much.
Hello. I have a living trust and I want to update it. Do you have any references or guidance where you can help me get someone to take a look at it?
Yes, I have someone I can refer you to, yeah, because we have we have an attorney that comes by, a lady attorney. She comes by and she leaves a card to help people with living trust.
Again, does she look like us?
Oh yeah, yeah. She's a young black girl. I'm gonna give you my card and I'm gonna get the information. But she's a young African American woman. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My second question is, do you know of any organizations that could help me write my obituary?
Organization.
Or
I know someone I can. I know some ladies that run their own. They develop programs.
Okay.
For funerals, and they do obituaries all the time. I know a couple ladies that run their small businesses. They can help you.
Okay.
Yes.
I get that from you also. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I just add one thing to that about the living trust? Whenever you have somebody update your living trust, I heard that you should have a section of who to exclude from your living trust. Mm-hmm. Because some people might try to contest it, mm-hmm. and if you have a list of who to exclude from it, then there's really no contesting that. Yeah. Just a little.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, my question is to Reverend Scarbrough. I hope I'm putting this question right. A lot of us will put our parents or whomever in hospice, but for some reason we start grieving while they're in hospice. What can we do about that?
That's what we call anticipatory grief, and that's a normal part of processing what is going on with your loved one. And so my advice to all grievers, whether it's anticipatory or after they've passed away, is you want to embrace whatever you're feeling at the time. Don't try to slide it under the rug or push it aside, but it's very important to identify what we're feeling and embrace those feelings. Identification is the key.
Mm-hmm. It might keep going on.
It keeps going on. It's very important to identify what it is that we're feeling, because a lot of times when we're having so many feelings and thoughts going through our head, it's hard to identify exactly what we're feeling. And so sometimes I even just make a list, and I really do some self-examination. I write down some of the things that I'm feeling. I'm feeling sadness, or I'm feeling anger, or I'm feeling loneliness, or I'm feeling anxiety. A lot of times when we write those things down, it becomes what I call instant manifestation. Now you can see it. It becomes tangible and then you can begin to decide, how am I going to deal with this anger? And there's really no right or wrong way to deal with the feelings that come, but there are healthy and unhealthy ways. And so we want to always deal with those things in a healthy way. And so I would say embrace all of what you're feeling, because all of what you're feeling is okay, and those feelings belong to you.
I have one more question for Dr. Inge, and I'm saying it right? Okay. Is there a place for men who go through domestic violence also? Because we know that we hear like 90% of women going through domestic violence, but sometimes us as black men go through it, not only at home, but sometimes in the justice department, employment, and stuff like that. And we have, to me personally, I don't think we have an outlet nowhere to go. Can you recommend, or?
Most domestic abuse shelters have classes, domestic abuse classes for men and women. When I was at Interval House, I facilitated both classes, the classes for men and the classes for women. So I have information on the table. If you want to join a class, you can call and register for a class. Okay. And if you want to talk to me, Reverend Sandra has my information. Okay.
Hello. This is for Dr. Reverend Davis. About cremation. You hear so much about cremation, and that I would like to know, if you have your loved ones cremated, do you cremate one at a time, or do you cremate a lot of people at one time? Because you hear, oh, well, you don't know that's your relative because they done cremated a couple of people together.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was thinking about that when they were talking about one legacy, about the myth you hear. No, everybody's cremated one at a time. It's only one person that goes into the crematory at a time. Yes, there have been some horrendous things done in this United States and in this city before, but that is not the norm. Every time something happens bad, more regulations go up. I mean, it's more regulated now. I mean, I think you guys heard of this family, these people in Denver, this couple that hid the bodies, and they didn't go ahead and cremating the bodies and all that. Well, soon as something happened like that, the regular goes up. But no, everybody's cremated one at a time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We'll have only one question only, then we'll be closing. Okay? Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for all your knowledge that you've been handing down. I have a question about the burials. I've been hearing about a lot of these funeral homes and the mortuaries, wherever the people are buried. Some people can't find their family members after burial. What's that all about? Just kind of curious.
There's been a few cemeteries in this city that's closed. Most recently is Lincoln, over on Central. Lincoln is one of the historical cemeteries for black people in this city. Woodlawn across the street. So when these cemeteries close, they allowed them to be privately owned. In their case, I believe the owner was an older guy, and he passed, or he passed. Family couldn't take over. So they weren't organized, and so it becomes a shambles, and so the people just back up from it, and then that's when you see the cemetery, the grass grows up, you can't find where the graves are sinking, and so really there's really going to have to be a conversation with all of us in the community to really start I know they have one active now to get together to force the state to get more involved and to put some money into these places, because there are loved ones there. So when they abandon them, it's like the graves go to shambles. You don't even know where they are.
Thank you.
quick question. It can be answered by any of the pastors up here. What and how are we educating pastors or the church, because you do have funerals where you have people smoking marijuana before they come, or having their red cups because they are going to pour over the body. And you also have members of the church that are coming to the church at the same time as the funeral is going on, and they're having Bible study or what other events at the church, right? And so you have members that smell the liquor, that smell the marijuana. So are we partnering with the pastors and communicating how even the members ought to respond and be Christ-like?
Right.
Be Christ-like, but in the same token, we definitely want to honor what's happening. But is there any communication regarding that taking place with you all?
I think there's more communication happening now. I think that as this is occurring more and more, the pastors, when they find out about it, they're reaching out to the congregation, having meetings about it. Like I said, I've seen people. I talk to pastors, and some of them, pastors been a long time in the city. They just won't allow certain things happen in the church. They turn people away from using their church. They say, well, nah, you can't use the church. Now, at first, I thought that was really harsh, but after I've been, doing the work, research and watching it, and I can see that the disrespect level goes up and up. I can see why. So, but the conversation is, is happening. Pastors are talking to pastors. The conversation is happening, Pastor Berry he can play. He can.
I got to bring her up. Okay.
Reverend Sandra, I'd like to say that my heart is touched, and if you would have me, I would love to come back and do a workshop for domestic abuse.
Thank you. We thank you. And really, we would like to bring up right now a person who really put this all together.
Yeah.
We work as a team.
Yeah.
We're a unit, and we thank you, Sister Reverend Sandra Jones.
I have a team, I have a team, I have a team. Nothing happens in isolation. I have a team, I have a team, I have a team. And I tell you, my heart is filled because of the women and the men who make this possible. I do not make this possible in a vacuum. And so I really want to thank, first of all, our presenters. Thank you so much, Pastor Davis, Dr. Inge. She was one of my instructors when I was going through the Board of Examiner when I was becoming a minister to be ordained in the AME Church, and Dr. Scarbrough, and then Lily. And so One Legacy is our partner. They're not just presenters, but they are a partner. They help provide the delicious lunch that we had today. So I heard a lot of conversation. One of the things that we handed you earlier today is this little brochure that says Memorial Funeral Pre-Planning Form. And it has your name, your date. It offers you an opportunity to start thinking about what kind of things you would like done for your service. That helps the family not have to make all of those decisions themselves. It's an act of selflessness. And so we would really like it if people would take these, talk to your families, give us some thought, So, because death is going to happen, Jesus is going to come back, or you going to die.
Yeah.
One of them two things are going to happen. And so I'm not going to open up the doors of the church, but I'm just telling you, you need to be prepared for either one.
Yeah.
He coming back, or you're going to need one of these pamphlets. The other thing that we wanted to share with you is that each year we do this, and we hand you out a survey. We take that survey seriously. Last year, one of the things Dr. Inge gave us was she said, y'all didn't have a program. So this year, we even had a program. So every year, we literally, when it comes to your feedback on what you want to see us bring to you, we look at that and we look at it seriously. Some of you all guys who know me real well know my brain starts working really kind of interesting. So last week, I started thinking about next year. I was done with this about 2 weeks ago. And so we're looking to do something next year with NAMI and to talk about suicide prevention. We are going to continue to open up forums to talk about things that need to be talked about in our community so that we're prepared and we can have intelligent conversations. Even though they get a little emotional, they make us feel some kind of way, they are crucial to our well-being. Yes. Amen. So we know also, not only do I have the team, so the missionaries and the bereavement ministry, those of you who are here, please stand. They made all of this happen for you. I appreciate them so much. I appreciate the media team and all of the various people who helped us. Now, we couldn't do any of this if the pastor didn't say, okay. We ain't crazy. Yeah. So we want to bring our pastor up to bring his final words.
Go ahead, Reverend Inge.
Okay. I want to share something with you. It's called The Good Stranger. As a woman was traveling the road between romance and reality, she fell in love with a charming but insecure young man. And it came to pass that after they were married, he beat her and robbed her of her dignity. And she ran from the house, bruised and afraid, wishing she were dead. A faith leader saw her swollen face and stopped to give some advice. Wives, submit to your husbands, he read. And he excused himself to attend a seminar on motivating strong leaders. A doctor stopped and bandaged her face and gave her a prescription for Valium. A women's group leader heard her sobbing, felt a rush of pity. I don't know what she sees in him. She thought he was thankful for her own gentle husband. And she went to buy the young woman a book of Making Your Marriage Work. A police officer asked her if she needed help. She asked him to arrest her husband. The officer asked if there were any witnesses to the assault. Since there were none, he left her alone. Another women's group president learned she was wandering the streets alone without a purse or clothing torn and said to the treasurer, "How awful, poor dear." And they agreed something should be done and that they would bring it up in their next meeting. A social worker noticed her and stopped to talk. "What did you do to provoke him?" she asked. The battered woman turned and walked away. The social worker concluded she didn't want help. And while the battered woman was wondering where she would sleep that night, a stranger greeted her and said, "Sister, come with me. We'll get some food at the crisis center and maybe some clothes." She took her threadbare coat and placed it on the woman's shoulders. And when they found the crisis center, they had no empty beds. The stranger took the woman to her attic room and cooked a macaroni dinner and canned peas on a hot plate. She made a pot of tea and listened to the incoherent bursts of pent-up pain. She wept to hear the broken dreams, self-doubt, and shattered faith. And as the woman dropped to sleep upon the couch, the stranger breathed, "You're a survivor like me," and made herself to lie upon the floor. Which of these people was the neighbor to the woman who fell into the hands of the abuser? The one who had compassion on her, go and do likewise. Thank you for letting me share.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Inge. Help me celebrate God for our guests, our panelists today. And I appreciate, I've shared that I appreciate our bereavement ministry more than anyone could imagine because they do a lot of work that would fall on my hands if they didn't do it. And so to Reverend Sandra and the entire bereavement ministry, I thank you and I celebrate God for the work that you do without wanting applause or a pat on the back or a name called. You are faithful in what you do. The emails that Sister Diane sends every week to me so that I'll know what's going on in the congregation before I stand up on Sunday. All of those things are just so incredibly valuable to the ministry. And so to everyone on the bereavement ministry, I praise God and thank you for your work. Amen. I also like to say that I appreciate so much the shift in already thinking about next year. I appreciate that, but I also want to say that if there's a need for something to be done, we do not have to wait for our annual days. Women's ministry is here, the missionaries are here, the bereavement ministry. If there's a need, let's just partner with some other ministries and have thoughtful planning and prayer. And there's no reason why we can't do what we need to do as long as it's prayed through, planned out, and brought before us so that we can make it happen. So I don't want to limit any ministry to once a year because the needs of humanity and society are more than once a year. Whenever the need arises, if there's something we can do as a church, we need to be doing it. Amen. Amen. I see somebody creeping over here. You guys have something you want to present? Okay, come on and present it, because I don't have anything else to say. Well, maybe one more thing, but.
If the members of the bereavement committee could please come forward. And most of all, if Reverend Sandra come on now. While they're walking, I just want to say it is always a delight to work with Reverend Sandra. All of us can attest to her humor, her dedication, her commitment, and she just cares so much for everybody and everything. And she doesn't just care. She's one of the people that's going to do something about it, come heaven or high water. And we just love that about her. And so on behalf of the bereavement team and those, here she is. No, I just trying to get everybody to look forward over here. We want to give you your roses, your flowers, while you, and we love you.
I'm gonna give you the last word, but I want to thank everyone for coming out, taking up their Saturday. Thank you again to the panelists. Excellent information, Reverend Inge. We're going to make that happen with domestic violence, perhaps with WMS or the women's ministry, that we can get something along those lines later on in this year. And I'm going to give Reverend Sandra the last word. Thank you, Reverend Sandra.
Thank you, Pastor Barry. I appreciate you more than no. So thank you. That's it. That's all I got for you. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. And take this seriously. Go back and meditate. And then when we do this, bring other people. Because this is valuable information. Amen. Thank you.
God bless you. And you know,
I got the card.
Okay. I got you.
You know, the pastor said the Women's Missionary Society.
On time.
Men, everybody needs to be. Everybody needs to be.